This is the chilling story of how a young life was mysteriously cut short. Let us dive right into it. Beverly Hills, California, a city synonymous with luxury, wealth, and excess. A place where the rich and famous come to play, and where the privileged few live lives of unimaginable opulence. But beneath the glittering facade, a darker reality lurked. A world where social status was everything, and where the ruthless pursuit of power and popularity could have devastating consequences. In this rarefied atmosphere, a 15-year-old girl named Sophia struggled to find her place. Sophia was a socially awkward teenager who found it difficult to navigate the complex web of relationships and alliances that defined her peer group. She was a shy and introverted girl who preferred to keep to herself, often finding solace in her books and her own company. But Sophia's life was about to take a dramatic turn. She had recently begun to associate with a group of rich kids who attended her school. This group was known for their wealth, their beauty, and their ruthless ambition. They were the crème de la crème of Beverly Hills teenage elite, and they ruled their social circle with an iron fist. The group was led by a stunningly beautiful girl named Olivia. Olivia was the quintessential queen bee, with a razor-sharp tongue and a talent for manipulation. She was the one who decided who was in and who was out, and her favor was highly sought after by her peers. Olivia's closest friends and allies were a tight-knit group of privileged teenagers who shared her values and her ambitions. There was Tyler, the star athlete with a charming smile and a talent for getting what he wanted. There was also Emma, a beautiful and cunning girl who was notorious for her ability to play both sides against each other. And then there was Chris, a quiet and brooding boy who had a dark and troubled past. Together, these teenagers ruled their social circle with an iron fist, crushing anyone who dared to oppose them. But despite their tough exterior, they were a complex and multifaceted group, driven by a mix of motivations and desires. And as Sophia became more and more embroiled in their lives, she would begin to realize that there was more to this group than met the eye. As the summer break approached, Olivia and her friends began to make plans for a lavish vacation to Mexico. The group had always been known for their extravagant trips, and this one promised to be the most memorable yet. The group of friends, including Sophia, arrived in Mexico amidst a whirlwind of excitement and anticipation. They spent their days lounging on pristine beaches, snorkeling in crystal-clear waters, and exploring the vibrant nightlife of the coastal towns. All of these they shared on the social media page. However, just a few days after they went on the trip, they came back with a sick Sophia who was quickly rushed to the hospital, but unfortunately she didn't make it and she died in the hospital. The hospital results stated food poisoning as the cause of her death, but it was odd that just Sophia was affected by food poisoning when she and all of her friends had all obviously eaten in the same restaurants all through the trip. Sophia's parents, too sad to think clearly, accepted their fate, as it was not only backed by the hospital, it was backed by the police detective in charge of the case. And so, the autopsy case went cold. Years went by and the remaining members of the group became young, successful adults. Exactly 10 years after the incident, a new detective was promoted to the Beverly Hills Police Department. Her name was Detective Solano. She had always been interested in the case when she was still a low-ranking police detective, and now that she had been promoted to the Beverly Hills Police Department, she became more curious about the death of the young teenager. And so, she decided to reopen the case as there were so many discrepancies in how the case was handled. Firstly, she tracked down all the groups of friends and she invited them for questioning concerning the death of their friend Sophia, 10 years ago. All showed up except Olivia. During her interrogation, she noticed that they were all saying the same thing. However, their countenance was different from what they were saying. One of the young men, Chris, was fidgeting, but he tried to keep himself composed. When Olivia finally came, she came armed with lawyers and she didn't seem to care about her dead friend like the others. Her words were exactly like what the others said, so she was dismissed. However, Detective Solano decided to reinterrogate Chris, and this was when he broke down and started crying. He said he had been feeling guilty for keeping the secrets all these years, but it was time to tell. He confessed that it was Olivia who killed Sophia and she had sworn them all to secrecy. With this information, Detective Solano sent for Olivia again. At first she didn't confess, but when the detective lied and said that the restaurant where she poisoned her friend had sent her a videotape of the poisoning, she began to confess about the incidents and her whole motive behind it. She said that as the trip progressed, she noticed that Sophia was getting more friendly with Alex, the most handsome and one of the richest boys in school. Alex had also come to Mexico with his own group of friends. As Sophia and Alex spent more time together, it became increasingly clear that he was developing romantic feelings for her. They would often sneak away from the group to explore the local markets, share quiet dinners, and engage in deep conversations. But Olivia was not happy about this, as she had always felt that Alex would end up with her, which made her jealous and resentful as Sophia and Alex's relationship blossomed. And so, on one fateful night, the group decided to go out to a local bar to celebrate the end of their trip. Olivia, determined to put an end to Sophia's growing relationship with Alex, hatched an evil plan. She got rat poison from a local market in Mexico, and when they arrived at the bar, she made a big show of ordering a round of drinks for the group. She insisted on getting the drinks herself, claiming that she wanted to make sure they were made just right. Unbeknownst to the others, Olivia had secretly laced Sophia's drink with a powerful poison. She had carefully planned the whole thing, making sure that no one would suspect a thing. As the night wore on, Sophia began to feel strange. The others suggested they take her to the hospital, but when they got inside their vehicle, Olivia snatched the phone from Chris, who was already calling for help. And she told all of them the truth, while threatening to reveal their darkest secrets if they went against her instructions. That same night they journeyed back into the United States, and when they got to the border they explained that they were taking their sick friend back home, and so because of this the policeman at the border didn't suspect a thing. As soon as they arrived in Los Angeles, Sophia was rushed to the hospital, where she was immediately admitted to the intensive care unit. The doctors worked tirelessly to save her life, but despite their best efforts, Sophia's condition continued to worsen. Meanwhile, Olivia's parents, who were extremely wealthy and influential, began to exert their power and influence to cover up the truth, as their daughter had confessed to them. They met with the doctor in charge of Sophia's care. The doctor, who had initially suspected that Sophia's symptoms were caused by something more dangerous than food poisoning, was pressured by Olivia's parents to change his report. They threatened to destroy his reputation and ruin his career if he didn't comply with their demands. Fearing for his livelihood and his family's well-being, the doctor reluctantly agreed to compromise his report. He attributed Sophia's death to food poisoning, claiming that she must have eaten something contaminated while they were in Mexico. The report was a blatant lie, but it served its purpose. The lazy police officer in charge of the case, Detective James, was woefully inadequate when interrogating the group. He barely scratched the surface of their alibis and stories, failing to ask follow-up questions or press them for more information. Olivia, in particular, was treated with kid gloves. Detective James seemed intimidated by her wealthy and influential parents, and he barely asked her any questions at all. He failed to follow up on leads, neglected to collect crucial evidence, and seemed more interested in closing the case than in solving it. As a result, the case went cold. The police department officially closed the investigation, attributing Sophia's death to food poisoning. And Olivia moved on with her life. Detective Solano was so angry at how the case had been handled earlier. She knew about the notorious reputation that Detective James had about his negligence and laziness, and she wondered how a serious case as such was given to him in the first place. This shows incompetent the system of judgments in the United States is. Sadly enough, Detective James was dead, and there was no way to get to him to ask if he had been bribed by Olivia's parents, or whether he was just grossly negligent about getting justice for the dead girl. The doctor was called for interrogation, and he confessed that he did it, and he was very, very remorseful. The rest of the group confirmed the story, each one citing their side of the story, and they all showed remorse. They confessed that they didn't say a word because they were scared of what Olivia would do as teenagers. They were very scared of Olivia, and they didn't know what she would have done to them if they had actually confessed, and so they had been living their lives with guilt all these while. And not so surprisingly, only Olivia remained unbothered. She felt her parents' money and influence would get her out as usual. The case was taken to court, and Olivia was sentenced to life imprisonment, while the rest of the group were sentenced to 8 years in prison for conspiracy to commit murder. But Chris was sentenced to 6 years with the possibility of parole because his confessions made the case easier to be resolved. Olivia's parents were not left behind. They were also sentenced to 25 years imprisonment for conspiracy to cover up murder, threatening a medical professional, and the obstruction of justice. The doctor was sentenced to a year of community service and a 1-year suspension of his medical license, prohibiting him from practicing medicine during that time. For Sophia's family, the verdict brought a measure of closure, but it could never bring back their beloved daughter. They had spent years searching for answers, and now, they not only got the answers that lead to their precious daughter's death, they were there to witness justice being served to the offenders. But the pain and grief of losing Sophia would stay with them forever. In the end, Sophia's story would serve as a cautionary tale, a reminder of the dangers of unchecked privilege and the importance of holding those in power accountable for their actions. It would also serve as a testament to the enduring power of justice and the way in which it can bring closure and healing to those who have been harmed. What lessons do you think society can learn from this case? Share your thoughts below. If you found this story compelling, please consider sharing it to spread awareness. Like this video, subscribe to uncover more true crime stories where deception and truth collide. Click here to watch another chilling case in our series.